So I was sitting with my friend, I think the other week, and we were talking about Arcane. And one of my friend's favorite characters from the show was Vander. And so the topic of Vander's death came up, and she vehemently told me how much she blamed Jinx for Vander's death. And you hear it quite often, right? You hear, oh, well, dang, if only Jinx had stayed home. We ended up in a pretty heated debate. Don't worry, we're still friends. And it was still a really, really good conversation. So I want to talk about it today. I want to talk about, why I personally feel like you shouldn't blame Jinx for Vander's death. And if there's anyone you should blame, it should be the people that I will be mentioning to you towards the end of this video. Hear what I gotta say? Hear me out. Why do others blame Jinx so much? And I think this is because of how things transpire in the third episode. Vi tells Jinx to stay home while her, Milo, and Clagger, they leave to go save Vander. So I guess the big question is, why didn't Jinx listen? Well, here's the thing. I often say this a lot. I think it's because she's learned that it's best to not listen. We have to think about who her role model is. If we're going to get upset at Jinx for not listening, then we need to get mad at Vi for not listening. I'm not choosing sides here. I'm not biased at all when I'm talking like this, because Vi is just as much a victim in all of this as Powder is. But I do want to bring attention to this because she had learned this somewhere. And if you think about it, who else was told to stay home and to stay out of trouble while letting the adults handle the situation? But of course, she didn't listen, went out and did her own thing in an effort to prove that she could provide some sort of assistance or prove to be useful or helpful in some way, shape, or form to someone else that's older than her that she admires. Vi was told to stay in the Undercity, not to go to Topside and handle any jobs. Vander had all of that covered, but Vi had to prove that she and her siblings had what it takes to handle any job just as he would. And it caused issues, it caused problems, it only made for more trouble in the end. Jinx, or Powder, was only doing what she felt like was the best thing to do. Vi didn't listen, but it still, in her eyes, worked out for her. People still look to Vi. People still look up to Vi and love Vi, right? Maybe for her, it would be the same thing. And it's the saddest thing, too, when you think about it that way, because she doesn't get that outcome. Another thing I want to stress, especially after you've watched season 1 and season 2 of Arcane, one thing you will learn about this show is that there are no happy endings. Like, you might get a little bit of like smiles here and there, maybe, but someone's either hurt, there's something that's been lost, there's something that's been, there's no full-blown rainbows and sunshine with this show. And that is all the more reason why I feel like even if Powder hadn't showed up and she hadn't set off her monkey bomb, I really don't think there would have been a happy ending for Vander, Clagger, or Milo, either way. You often hear it a lot, and it's, if she hasn't shown up, they had the hole in the wall, they could have made it out and gotten away, and we all would have been fine and hunky-dory, right? Right? We have to think about a lot of factors at play here in this moment. The first thing is that, yes, while they had the hole open, and they were very close to getting out, you have to think about the shimmer-enhanced henchmen that we're dealing with here. And even though at this moment we're only dealing with Decker, you've seen from the episode that he has tons of this stuff. And he has tons of people following him when regards to making this stuff too. So even if they had made it out, I don't know if they would have gotten very far. We've seen how quick and fast Decker is. Hell, when he was able to dodge past the enforcer's bullets and was able to knock down Benzo before he could even finish lowering his damn arm. Like, I think they probably would have gotten a bit of ways, but after some point, I truly don't think they would have gotten any further. At this point, Vi is hurt. Vander is also hurt. I mean, he's not completely incapacitated, but he's still not at 100%. And the only two people who seem to be at a place of where they can fully function at this point is Milo and Clagger. Now, I don't know. Let's just pretend a moment. Let's say that they do get away. We are dealing with Silco, okay? And the thing is, and one thing you will learn about Silco, or we all know about him, is that he's not stupid. He's actually quite intelligent and tactful. One of the first things Silco is going to do is he's going to go to the last drop, because he knows that at some point they would have returned there. And guess who else is at the last drop? Because she actually listened to her sister and waited. Powder. This is why I say that at the end of the day, I feel like Powder's bomb was more so a symptom, not necessarily the cause of tragedy here. I feel like tragedy was going to happen regardless. Because then what would have happened was that we know Vi. Vi loves her sister. There's no way in hell she is going to not return to the last drop to go get her sister. Same thing for Vander. They would have gotten there. And I don't know, maybe if they got there before Silco, would they had gotten Powder out of there in time? Vander is injured, Vi is injured, and Milo and Clagger have to pretty much be their support system. And at this point, I'm pretty sure Silco would have sent out a bunch of his henchmen, both normalized and shimmer enhanced, out into the city. Because I feel like at this point, Silco had made his mind that he was ready to take over. He was ready to take over everything. It was time. Like I said, I just feel like at this point, even if they had made it to the last drop to get Powder, it's either Silco would have stopped them at the door, or they would have gotten there before Vi and Vander and them got there and would have held Powder captive. Because that's the perfect thing, right? To lure Vander and Vi in by saying, hey, I have your other daughter. I don't see it. And I know some people would probably argue, well, Vander has a fighting chance at this point, right? But we all saw how that went. He may have stood a chance against Decker for maybe like a few minutes, but after that, he was completely overtaken. And this isn't because of the ceiling falling on him or anything. I really do feel like the shimmer enhanced henchmen are just that quick and that powerful, unfortunately. And so I also think the monkey bomb did give Vander a chance to save Vi. And I know that's a crazy way to look at this, and most people may not agree with me on this, but I do feel like I don't think Vi would have lived any other situation. I'm just going to keep it real. I feel like, and I think this is why in the other timeline we see that Vi passed away. And this is just my theory. I feel like in every other timeline, I feel like Vi passes away or dies in some way, shape, or form, just because of how everything transpires, right? But I feel like this was the one timeline where she is given a chance just because that monkey bomb goes off, because it gives Vander an opportunity and the slightest bit of chance to save her, even if it means him turning into a shimmer enhanced monster in the process and dying. So that's just my take on it. But let me know what your thoughts are on that theory. Who is to blame? Who's to blame for Vander's death? And I personally feel like it's the council. Heimendinger, Mel, and I know she wasn't on the council long, but I don't care. She was on the council and she had the opportunity to make these decisions just as much as everyone else. Everyone on the council is to blame for Vander's death. I do feel like more than anything, Vi, Powder, Vander, Silco, they all were just a byproduct of a bunch of adults that just didn't care. about the Undercity. More than anything, the councils, they benefited from Zahn's exploitation. They did nothing. And this is one point where I do agree with Jace. There were so many instances where there could have done something to help the Undercity, but they got too comfortable. And they were so focused on Piltover and progress with Piltover. And while all this is happening, people in the Undercity are suffering. And they knew about the inequality. They knew about the oppression, and did nothing. I feel like there was a lot of people who were upset with Jinx at the end of season 1 when she blew up the council room. Because so many people were like, they were voting for peace. A little too late. They should have been having this discussion and voting for peace when the first war broke out on the bridge. And by the time that they did decide to do it, there's been too much damage that had been done up to that point. That's how I feel about that. And then let's talk about it, right? Would there have been peace? Would there really? I feel like they only decided on peace because of Jace, for one. That's another thing to talk about, too. Like, they only decided to do this because of Jace, and pretty much he forced the conversation. The fact that Silco had grown powerful enough to be worth negotiating with at this point says a lot. It says a lot, y'all. I think at this point, the only reason they decided to agree to this treaty was for the self-benefit of themselves. At this point, war was becoming bad for business. You have to understand we're dealing with politicians here. It wasn't because they truly believed that they wanted to provide peace for the Undercity. No, I don't believe that for a second. Not because there was any morality involved, that there was any compassion involved, right? I think it really was just political pressure. I don't know. A lot of people were like, oh, Jinx's missile, it ruined the chance for peace. No, it didn't. I really do think that it didn't interrupt peace. It was punishing delay. You guys have your snacks ready? I hope you guys have your snacks ready. Are y'all eating snacks? This is why I think, regardless, even if Jinx hadn't blown up the council, there wouldn't have been peace. The reason why is because, one, the negotiation was between Jace and Silco was that he would give him his nation of Zahn if Silco gave him Jinx's head. And I stand by this 1,000 trillion percent. Silco was not going to give up Jinx. No, I truly believe that he meant those words wholeheartedly, that he was not going to give her up to them. And with that condition not met, I don't see how there would have been a pain for peace. And also another reason why he wouldn't give her up is because it would be betraying his ideals. I feel like in a sense, it would be him admitting vulnerability. And that's something that we know that Silco is not prone to doing. He does not like showing vulnerability. Surrendering to Piltover's judgment, I think goes against all of that. And I said it earlier, but I feel like the council is full of politicians, not visionaries. They are all about their own self-interest at the end of the day. They're driven by it. So while I do believe that they would have agreed to this treaty, over time there would have been corruption. Corruption would have seeped its way through in some way, shape, or form. I feel like Hex Tech power is too valuable. I feel like someone is bound to militarize it to undermine Zahn in some way, shape, or form. I feel like Jace and Mel meant well, but I really don't think overall the council is for protecting peace. They're meant to protect power. We've seen it time and time again. They didn't want to shut down the Hex Tech gates because of the wine. Preposterous. What, I'm going to tell them that they can't receive their wine on time? So this same person voted for peace? Come on, guys. Another reason why there wouldn't be peace is because the social divide at this point is so strong. We see it. We see it throughout the film. How Marcus treats Vander when they first meet. doesn't know Vander at all, but doesn't waste any time in immediately treating him like a criminal. Even though Vander is presenting himself in a very cordial manner, it doesn't matter to Marcus. He lives in the Undercity, so he can't be trusted. And then, of course, we have how the Undercity people feel about Piltover. We see that through Vi and how she interacts with Caitlyn in the beginning. There's so much social divide between these two people that I don't see how in the world the peace would last. I feel like at some point, all it would take is one mishap. Like, let's say there's an accident and something blows up in Piltover. No one in the Undercity probably did it at all, but I can see instances where people in Piltover, because of the amount of distrust that has accumulated over the years, they're going, it must have been somebody from the Undercity, from Zaun, the nation of Zaun. They're our enemies. And let me tell you, the world, like, someone would have radicalized this situation. Never fails. At the end of the day, I don't think Jinx destroyed peace. I think she just proved that peace was something that was never really there. And I think that's what makes Arcane such a beautiful yet tragic tale. Our characters and everyone is wrapped up in this it's this world that just shows no mercy. It's a world of cycles of violence, right? The endless cycle of violence that we end up on throughout this entire show is just in this cycle. And no matter how hard all of these characters have tried to get out of this cycle, they have found their way in it once again. Like, Vander tries to make peace. Peace is something hard to attain when you're being oppressed. And then Vi tries to be a protector, but she ends up, in the end, she finds that she hardly can protect anybody. Powder, who's just trying to help, right? But in her wake, all she sees is that she keeps screwing up and just causing more destruction. It sucks. And then you have Silco, he's trying to ignite some sort of revolution, but all he's breeding is, again, more destruction. The real tragedy of Arcane is that there is no clear path to safety. No one is safe. As we've learned, no one is safe. So, I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Do you still believe, even after hearing all of this, that Powder is to blame for Vander's death? Do you feel like you kind of see my point in all of this? Or do you have any other theories or thoughts on this? Like, feel free to share them in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And there's also a couple of reaction videos that I'm doing. I also live stream every week on Sundays, where we just kind of go over trending news on what's happening within story media. We grab some snacks and we have a good old time. So if you're interested in that, then go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye.